All right, we'll call the meeting to order at 5:31. Clint, would you provide our invocation, please?
Please pray with us. Lord, we come to you thanking you for all that's here. Thank you for the community. Thank you for your presence in all of our lives. Just give us the guidance to improve your world. In God's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Roll call, please.
Whitney Kerr. Shane Knight.
Here.
Clint Horner.
Here.
Drew Jackson. Kevin Keener.
Here. Our first item of business is consideration approval of our minutes from the Planning Commission meeting on November 17th, 2020.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Call for a vote, please.
Shane Knight.
Aye.
Clint Horner. Kevin Keener.
Aye. Our second item of business, consideration of case PC 2020-24. It's a request approval of a replat for property located at 601 and 611 North 5th. Ms. Barker?
Good evening. Yes, this is a replat request. The property owner is wanting to join two lots together. There was at one point two houses on the property. Those houses have been demoed, and what the hope is to be able to build one home on the lot. Just so you're aware, the northern part of the lot is a 30-foot lot, so it's technically is an illegal lot if you were. So by joining these lots together, you're going to actually make the whole lot being conforming. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. The applicant's also here if you have any questions for her.
I had a question just for me to learn something.
Sure.
What's the reason for a replat versus I know how we do the reverse lot split. What's the reason to do this one versus the other?
It's because they're joining two lots together, and the ordinances require if it's a replat where you're joining two lots together, then it's a replat process.
Okay. I'm looking to confirm it is zoned R2.
Correct.
Is it the intent of the applicant to put a single family or multifamily?
I believe it's a single-family home. I believe the application stated that, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, she's wanting to place a larger home, is what it says on the application.
Any other questions for Ms. Barker? Okay. Do we have anybody in opposition to this request, the replat? I sure miss these paper agendas. I'm happy with technology, but I like the old paper.
I'll make a motion we approve as requested.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Call for a vote, please.
Shane Knight.
Aye.
Clint Horner. Kevin Keener.
Aye. Let me get back up here to our next item of business. It is item number 3 on our agenda. It's consideration case PC 2020-26. Request the approval of final plat for property located near Thomas Way and Joe Bullard I believe this is our item tabled from last month. Ms. Barker? Hey, look at that. Thank you.
Yes, this item was tabled at our last meeting. What has changed since then is that department heads did go ahead and sign off on the agenda, or on we created the plat, the final plat process, if you will, for department heads to sign off on, as requested at the last meeting, and that has been done. The street crew, or street supervisor, did go out and measure the streets and everything else, and he was fine with it. So there's no issues from staff regarding this final plat.
Did we ever, I know we have some things here in our packet. I still didn't see exact. Did we know how much of the change there was? I think it was the.
For this,
Oh,
was
yeah.
it the setbacks?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I emailed you guys the PDF original version, because there's no way of making it any cleaner than that. So, we'll start at the bottom and we'll kind of go up to the right.
Okay.
There's some of these that were more than what was required, and there's only a couple that was less. So I'll just go over the ones that were less. Let's see, there's one that's on maybe the 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 unit on the right. That is 25, and the plat originally said 25.8. So there's that one. There's one, let's see, that was more. There's one that's in the middle on the top that is listed at 24, but the actual is 23.5. Then the middle is 23.3 on the bottom, and then it's listed at 21.15 is the actual. And the other one is on the far left on the bottom, and it's listed at 20 feet on the preliminary, and actual was 18. And the one at the top was listed at 20, and it's coming in at 19.88.
All the other, everything else was in compliance or satisfactory?
Mm-hmm. And I believe we have a representative here as well that can answer any potential questions.
Do we have anybody in opposition to this final plat request? Any discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Call for a vote, please.
Shane Knight,
Aye.
Clint Horner,
Aye.
Kevin Keener.
Aye. Our next item is consideration of case PC 2020-28. Request the approval of a rezoning from C2 Highway Commercial and Commercial Recreational District to R3 General Residential for property located near Kale Switch and Orchard Road. Ms. Barker?
This was another one where an applicant came in wanting to do a rezoning over here. It's right there, kind of. If you remember the Southern Nazarene Church that we had in our meeting agenda a few months ago, it's right. The property is just south of that property. So that's kind of the location of it, if you will. So the zoning out there is kind of a little weird, as you can see, where there's some C2 and then there's ag and then C2, and then most of it's ag, and then you have another strip of C2. There isn't really any R3 out there at all. However, the whole area is mostly residential currently. And then, of course, with the church out there, it kind of fits in. So the current future land use map still calls that out as commercial, if memory serves. Let me double check. Trying to get to the right page.
Looks like future land use calling it out for R3 or high-density residential.
Did it? Okay. I'm trying to look at trying to get to the right page. There we go. Too many pages here.
I'll trade you. I'll give you this and give you that.
There we go. Let's see. Yeah, high density residential, you're correct. So, the residential piece would kind of fit within that. As you know, we're still working on our, current future land use map. And so that'll area will likely be updated depending on how the meetings go. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I also believe that one of the applicants is here as well to answer any potential questions. And this would potentially, could be seen as a spot zoning since there isn't any R3 out there. But it could be one of those that could be for the betterment potentially. But that's ultimately up to you all.
Can it be considered spot zoning if the future land use has it designated as the request?
It could, yes, just because you're still having an area that's surrounded by it. But at the same time, you can have that where it's kind of one of those where, for instance, if we talked about having the manufactured home deal, and it'd kind of be like the first of its kind. So out there, most of it is residential, but it's all that ag residential stuff. So it would still fit in. But yeah, it'd still be considered, or could be considered spot zoning, but you can do it if it's a betterment type of thing. I think Whitney pointed that out a while back.
So if it's got city water, but it does not appear to have city sewer,
Right.
is there, Mr. Cook may be able to answer this if you don't have the answer to it. If it doesn't have city sewer, I'm trying to think of the advantage of going to R3. Unless it is going to be a multifamily, I guess you could have a lagoon system, something like that. Okay.
Right.
Is there any plans of having city sewer out
No,
that?
not at this time, but if you realize the duplexes just up the road are on Lagoon as well,
Yeah,
for the same reason, because we don't have sewer. You can use, as long as you got enough land, you can use
Right.
lagoons or,
Yep.
aerobic.
Aerobic or septic,
If
yeah.
it works, but.
Yep.
So, yeah, we don't have any plans for sewer at this moment, but they just have to plan that in their plans.
okay. Yeah, I just know usually I was thinking along the lines of single family,
Right.
and that, I didn't know that there wouldn't be a benefit necessary. There wouldn't be a benefit to zone it R3 if it was gonna be used for single family,
No,
because lot size and all those things that,
with that much
okay.
acreage, it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
Okay, thank you.
Is the housing development that's on the, there's not a north arrow on my map. So in the plan that I'm looking at, the aerial photo,
Okay.
the neighborhood, and I think it might be Choctaw Nation Housing up there that's kind of catty corner from this. Is that on a lagoon system already, or?
I don't know, that's
Not
outside
even
of
in
city
That's
limits.
not, it's
Mm-mm.
right across city property. isn't it?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, so I'm not sure what that's on.
Actually, the Choctaw Housing, which is on the other side of
Kel Switch.
Choctaw. The other side of Kell Switch is actually, there's a couple trailer parks there, if you'll remember. They sit in the county. But they're,
Oh, is that what I'm looking at?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, okay.
and they're on large lots, I believe they're all aerobic. They're on like half-acre lots.
Gotcha.
The Choctaw area that's actually the other side of Choctaw Road does
Yes.
have sewer, but it's privately and it goes across to the casino.
Right, right.
The, let's see there. Okay. Any more questions for Ms. Barker?
No.
Okay, thank you. Is the applicant here for this one?
I'm representing.
Okay,
I thought a representative's supposed to be here.
yeah. If you don't mind, if you come up, we'll,
Yeah, the one, Uwe is here, he's one of
Okay.
the business partners, he owns Asian Gourmet, but there's a language barrier, so I'm representing.
okay. If you would state your name, please.
Spencer Barnett, I'm the real estate broker handling the transaction of land that's under discretion here.
Okay,
And I think just to clarify, there is a multifamily unit north of this property on Anna Drive that does have a lagoon.
Okay.
I don't know if that's what you were talking about. Shane.
Yes, I think that's the one we were referring
Okay.
to.
And I believe from my maps that I have access to, it is in Durant Schools. That's the intersection, this sits at the intersection of Orchard and Kale Switch, which is the border of Durant Schools. So I think for the growth of our area, it would be beneficial, even if it's considered spot. It's sandwiched between the church and the cultural center. So
Right.
I don't know if the cultural center has zoning for our city or if they're on their own deal, but
the, do you know the plans for the property if the?
probably gonna look at a lagoon system. From what the city has told me, the sewage stops at, I believe, Sunny Meadows. And the cost to run that under the bypass or whatever would just be so significant. So a lagoon system or an aerobic type system, I've spoke with, the DEQ. But from a development standpoint, we're just trying to figure out if it's gonna be rezoned before we spend all this kind of money and get everything, so.
So
How
it
many
is for-
units
Go
you're
ahead.
looking at? I'm sorry.
It will be, as far as city compliance, curb and gutter, I think for the location, it's superior to some of the other multifamily because of the south side of Durant. And with the new jobs for the casino being in Durant Schools, I think it's an area that our city should take consideration of improving and having people from Texas come up and be as close to Texas as they can and close to work. So I think it's a great location for it.
You have a drawing of how many units you want to do or any kind of idea?
It mostly would be dependent upon if we can do a lagoon or an aerobic. Obviously, if it's an aerobic, you're limited to what you can do. So we would like to look at the lagoon type system and mainly quadplexes. And so that's their main focus. But no, as far as having it surveyed, that's one of the things that we didn't incur any expenses until we figured out if this was gonna go or not. As much as could possibly fit on the property, that's the accurate answer. A high-frequency residential, whatever the terminology is.
Any more questions for Mr. Barnett?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody in opposition to this request? The cultural center, is it on, does it go to Calera Sewer? Does it tie onto their sewer, or does it have a,
No, it ties on to the sewer that's at the, I believe, the sewer, so there's a lift station at Burger King that is owned by the nation.
okay,
Because they own all the land there, so it's all private. I don't have any sewer on the west side of 75.
okay,
It's private until it gets to the east side, and then we take it.
okay,
They're also tribal trust land. They never got rezoned before they built anything because they answer to a higher authority, as we all know.
okay.
So the zoning probably would not reflect what they would need to be zoned anyway. But all those pieces of property right there are tribal trust land. But it's all private line until it comes across the road, and then we end up taking it. But I can't ask them to extend it, if that makes sense. And I'm not sure there's enough elevation left to extend it anyway.
Right.
That cultural center is about the last stop they got.
Okay, thank you. What is the lot size if it is a fourplex? I don't know that I have that chart. You know what,
With me either.
it's gonna be a minimum of, I mean, you could kind of roughly get to a just to get an idea of,
I'm wanting to say it's like 6,000 feet for, no,
8,000
that's,
plus 24 would be 1040. But if it's R3, they can do like an apartment complex,
yeah,
where they own all the infrastructure,
right,
and it's not actually divided up into lots.
that's true.
right.
Yeah.
Yep, okay. But, you know, lagoon, retention, some of those things will eat up some
Yep, yeah,
space.
They have to have design engineered retention and whatever DEQ allows for a lagoon, per household.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I'll make a motion, we approve as requested.
I'm gonna go back to one question that was asked a minute ago about spot zoning. And I'm not sure that I really feel like it is spot zoning, since the future land use map does call for that to be high density. And we're not very far from another high density development, but current zoning does not reflect that. So what was your answer to the spot zoning question a minute ago, Danielle?
It wouldn't, it would most, it could be considered as spot zoning. But as you're pointing out, there's a lot of reasons for it to be residential. That area just is, it's residential now, it's, you know, and what the draft, the draft of the future land use map is calling for, like kind of a residential, commercial mixed use kind of thing out in that area. Again, that's a draft, but in that case, it would fit in that general idea of the future land use map. So, I don't see any issues with it, from a planning perspective. It's one of those things where it could be just it's just been commercial, but it's not really, I mean, even the roadway isn't really conducive for a commercial type business out that way,
Yeah.
so.
Okay. I just wanted to, I thought that was the case. I just wanted to double check. Well, in that case, then I'll second Mr. Horner's motion.
We have a motion and a second. Call for a vote, please.
Shane Knight,
Aye.
Clint Horner, Kevin Keener.
Aye. Thank y'all. We will move on to item number 5, consideration of case PC 2020-29. This is for an amendment to the language in ordinances 152 and 153, manufactured and mobile home ordinances. Ms. Barker?
And we can start this, but as you know, we have the Regional Planning Commission coming up in a few minutes, so I don't know if you want to start this or if you want to, how you want to handle it, so.
Well, we can leave it up to the members if we want to get started or we want to recess, and
Is this the last thing on our agenda?
we have one more after this. It's just a discussion of the future
Of the
land use
future
map. I
land
don't
use
think
map.
it's an action item on the
It is
last one.
not, it is
Okay.
not.
You'll have to give me a minute where I'll stop this live stream and then we'll start the other one.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll have a few minutes here if we go into
Now,
recess.
we'll need to come back into session to talk about this?
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay, all right.
We've got about 4 or 5 minutes if you want to discuss, or we can recess.
I'm fine to recess if you think there's gonna be some other discussion. I have a few comments, which
Takes more.
may lead to some more questions, so I'm fine to recess for now.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll need a
A
motion
motion
for
and a
recess.
second, yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
I make a motion, we recess.
Second.
Motion and a second. Call for a vote, please.
Shane Knight,
Aye.
Clint Horner,
Aye.
Kevin Keener.
Aye.